live. You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the pilgrims were good at Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody. Hey, family, peace and welcome. Black Love Experience in the building. Got some John Coltrane on. Y'all already know where you got to go. WTCCFM.org, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio to hear that kind of music because Facebook be shutting a brother down otherwise. Tell a friend, tell somebody Bishop is on. I got to do my alternative Instagram channel. They still haven't restored my ability to go live. They flagged a post on the 7th. Then they admitted they made a mistake. They restored the post, but didn't restore my ability to go live. So, and contact them and they don't do anything. They don't say anything. So I'm stuck on my regular channel, not being able to go live for maybe a month. I don't know, for no reason at all, just because. Like, too much truth we be spitting, I guess. So they're gonna try to restrict you in some kind of way. So go to Talbert W Swan #2 on Instagram if you're normally an Instagram viewer, because can't get it on my regular channel. Unfortunately, the devil is busy. But in any case, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Do all that kind of stuff. And share it in your story. Let somebody know the alternative place they can find my Instagram. But welcome to my regular folks on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever else you all talking about. So today I'm going to deal with, I got to deal with this. We've been talking about the election and stuff, but Steve Harvey and Ricky Smiley basically were telling black people, and I get, you all know I've said that Trump is an existential threat, and it would not be good um, for him to get into office. But they went so far as to basically say um, we should stop trying to demand tangible things for our votes. That we don't need to be out here asking for no reparations, asking for no specific legislation for black people. Ain't nobody gonna do no legislation for just black people and be able to get in the White House. And so y'all stop asking. And yeah, I'm not down with that. I'm not down with that. No, 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 no. I think black people um, have the same rights as every other constituent group where they're asking for their votes, that they got a right. They got a right to expect something tangible for their votes. And no representative of Black America should be telling Black people not to expect anything for their votes. So we're going to deal with that. 413-736-2781, 413-736-2781 is the number here if you want to chime in on the conversation. I'm gonna grab some water. I got a little bit of Otis Redding in the background. Can't give it to you. Can't give it to y'all because y'all know how Facebook be doing me. I'm gonna grab some water. I'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Keep it locked. All right, I'm back, y'all. Hate to leave y'all with all that quiet, but they would have shut my stream down if I let y'all hear the Coltrane. It's not just sentimental. That's all you get. I can only give you in small doses. And care. All right, let's go. Let's get it. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Reach a little higher. The essence of life is growth, but the essence of growth is change. 90.7 WTCC. Up. 90.7. I thought I had the microphone on. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Black Love Experience. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan, the second. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. I want to thank Elder Rick Robinson bringing us up into the 9 o'clock hour with Friday morning inspiration. You can hear Elder Rick Robinson and Deacon Ernie Johnson alternating on every Friday, sprinkled in every now and then with a little sister Sonia. Bring you the best in gospel music. Good way to end your work week. And then you got me, the Black Love Experience. Shout out to the one, the only Representative Ben Swan, architect of this program for 40 years or so. I'm going to stick with 40, somewhere around there. Shout out to him. Shout out to every one of you here in the Pioneer Valley and those of you all points outside of the valley who are listening to us. Good morning. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you are chiming in from. Houston is always in the house, first and foremost, even before the field. But welcome to everybody who's coming in from everywhere. It's the end of the work week. Yes, summer is winding down. School is already in some places. A lot of stuff still going on. We've got the annual NAACP Freedom Fund on October 17th here. My sister, Reverend Siobhan Arline Bradley, CEO, President of the National Council of Negro Women, will be our guest speaker on that day. Check out our Facebook page, Greater Springfield NAACP. Get all the information about purchasing your tickets to that event. We got the 100 Black Men of Color celebration. I'll be honored at that on September 20th. 100 Black Women celebration. My wife will be honored at that event on September 13th. We've got our annual Holy Convocation taking place the 2nd through the 6th of September. Stay tuned for details of that. We've got our annual Hope Festival happening on September 7th. So a lot of stuff going on still that you want to keep it locked into. Today, we got to deal with some stuff, y'all. We got to deal with some stuff. I don't know what happened with my space, but I guess Twitter's playing with me. Um, they're playing with my space. Anyway, Steve Harvey and Ricky Smiley and some others have been saying that black people um, need to stop asking for tangible things for their votes. That that we really need to stop talking about either we get this or that or we're not voting. That nobody's going to elect somebody who's going to do stuff for black people. I've got to push back on that. Every other demographic is able to and expected to ask for something in exchange for their votes. Every other group. Nobody else is ever told that they should not expect something for their votes. Why? Why black people? You know, why? Why do we have to take down and say, whatever they decide they might want to do for us, then that might also help us. We'll be down with that, but don't say it's specifically for black people. They don't have a problem saying something is specific for the Jewish community, for the LGBTQ community, for the Asian American Pacific Islander community, for the Native American community, for immigrants. They don't have a problem being very specific about helping any of those groups. Why, my brothers and sisters, do we have to take down and say, you know what? We just not gonna say nothing about black votes, about what black people want or what black people need. We ain't gonna do that. So let's talk about it. 413-736-2781 is the number here. I'm limited in my spaces because they're playing with me. Instagram took a post down on the 7th, said it violated their terms of service. Then they changed their mind and said, oh, you didn't violate our terms of service, restored the post, but still have me restricted from going live. So I got to go live on another channel rather than my regular channel where I got 350,000 followers that can follow me. So anyway, if you're normally on Instagram, go to Talbert W. Swan #2 to catch me there. For some reason, they shut down my Twitter space and I had to reboot that this morning. So they obviously don't want you to hear what I'm talking about today. But we're going to talk about it anyway. 413-736-2781. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Don't go nowhere. We will be right back.
You say you sold out because out and crass, and your precious white woman is the epitome of class. Are you so blind that you cannot see?
That pale girl child ain't got nothing on me.
For hundreds of years, we have stood by your side, accepted your flaws and allowed you your pride, bore your children and cleaned up your mess, satisfied your lust and always settled for less. We have stayed in the background and allowed you to lead, trusting in your strength and ability to succeed, never getting the praise and credit we deserve, but having the courage, the will,
and the nerve.
for being the backbone that has kept it together for you and our children in all kinds of weather. And now suddenly you say we're not good enough for you. We forced you to sell out because of the things we did. Well, where was that white woman when that white man you hate
Was cracking the whip?
In the boardroom, the warehouse, and on the slave ship. She stood by his side
and didn't say a word,
waiting for her own chance to
rule and be heard.
And now it's her you turn to and treat like a queen. And me and my sisters
you choose to demean.
Well, hold up, wait a minute, and stop the damn bus. Because there are a few things I need to remind you about us. Listen up. A more beautiful creature God never made than an African woman, no matter
her shade.
High, yellow, red bone, or
cocoa brown.
We are more than worthy of wearing a crown. Ebony, mocha, or black as the night. It is we who have always shared in your plight. We are passionate, spiritual,
loving and kind.
A more generous heart you'll never find than the one that beats inside the body of a Nubian queen, the hardest working, loving, giving woman you've ever seen. For we give
and forgive
until there's little left. Then we're forced to put up our guard to avoid your theft. The theft of our hearts and our trust, the very nature
of our soul,
by our so-called brothers who are just
playing a role.
And you wonder why some of us act as we do? Take a look in the mirror, because the
answer is you.
It's not enough that the white man has always tried to keep us down, but our own men act as though they'd love to see us drown. And white women have never invited us to join their equal rights struggle. So we're out here alone with a million things we juggle, raising the children that black men leave behind, and dealing with the racism of the daily corporate grind. Damn, it's no wonder some of us are loud. Hell, we're just trying to be heard. In a world where everyone, including our men, ignore our every word. Where are the brothers who understand a black woman's worth? Right here, who will protect and stand by us, for we are the salt of this earth. We birthed you, raised you, and showered you.
I see you, Cleveland.
It was we who taught you to love your creator above. We gave you all we had and taught you to be men. Open your eyes, it is us, your black sisters.
Not Bo Derek's kind.
Rate a perfect 10. And one final word for the sellout to
claim to be brothers.
When you turn your back on us, you disrespect
your mothers.
Did you hear that? This is a response to the sellout.
That's a response to the sellout. Rhonda Swan. You can check out her music anywhere music is streamed. She got some bangers on there. So, yeah, check it out. 413-736-2781. 413-736-2781 is the number here if you want to chime in on the conversation today. We're going to be talking, or we are talking about black votes. And we're talking about what we should get in exchange for them. Should we get something in exchange for black vote? Should we be talking about reparations? These other kinds of things. Well, there are some who are of the stream of thought that we should not. Let me see if I can pull up. Let me see if I can get Uncle Steve, who was one of them. Steve Harvey basically was saying that, y'all got to stop asking for stuff. Just vote. Don't be saying something. Don't be asking for nothing. No reparations, none of that stuff.
Um, no reparation. Oh, boy. Now, this, of course, this is the same guy who said Donald Trump wasn't that bad. But don't be demanding no reparation. Now, most of these videos are too long, so I'm not gonna play it because they're like an hour long and all that stuff, and I don't have time to decipher through it to find the exact spot that I want you to listen at. But you can check it out. You can check it out. Steve basically said that you don't need to be asking for reparations. Don't be asking for nothing that is specific for Black people. Just vote. That's it. And I agree, we need to vote. We need to vote. We need to be engaged in the political process. But there's far too much at stake for everybody else to be able to ask for something in exchange for their votes, but Black people sit back in the cut and just have to wait for the crumbs that fall from master's table, and hopefully they'll sponsor some legislation or something that will also benefit us, not primarily, but also benefit us. And I need to break that down somewhat. Let me get Brain Food, who's in the space. Let's see what they want to tell us about this. You got the microphone. Brain Food.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I'm coming in from the UK. My parentage comes by the Caribbean from Jamaica, and obviously we were stolen from Africa. This issue is across all the diaspora, whether in the US, whether the UK, Europe, wherever we got scattered or dropped from the slave ship. And yeah, we should. The issues, what we face is due to obviously the historical context, but also a lack of coordinated power. It's about a power imbalance in the systems, and obviously historical legacies have led to these imbalances that suit the status quo. I don't think all power is in the vote. I think it is overrated, but I do agree we need to take part and participate. Otherwise, we'll be led by people who sideline our issues. But definitely, tangibles need to be put on the table. Other communities had this. I would broaden it out as well and say that the reason we are so oppressed, I don't believe it is just because of color, although obviously color is the marker what they use. But historically, it's economic. You know, the slavery, the colonization, the stealing of resources from Africa, everything is about benefiting European hegemony. So they make money from us. Even the immigration debate into the US, I kind of pick up on it, that people who have been through slavery and had to endure their labor being taken for free. Now migrant communities are coming in on the back of that, and kind of jumping ahead. But again, those communities are being allowed to come in for economic reasons as well. It's the same in the UK, Australia, all of these hegemonies, they're using the same system of labor. And when you expand that out across millions and millions of us as Black people, we see the amount of money that is being made by this unequal system. And that really is what we're fighting against. So to try and do that as individuals, just by having scattered votes, is interest, that is not organized and collective power. So we need to kind of raise the bar and think on a bigger scale about the system that is there and why it's so hard to defeat.
Certainly. Appreciate you. Appreciate that perspective. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. Goodbye. Yes, you're on the air. Okay. 413-736-2781. Gotta listen. Gotta listen. Um, yeah, the caller kind of broke it down. It's not just in America, it's happening in all places where Black people are. So it's a global dynamic. When we talk specifically about um, America, the necessity of Black voters demanding tangible gains from both political parties is paramount. The political power of Black voters has for a long time been a critical element in shaping the outcomes of elections. Now, they will try to make you think your vote doesn't count. They wouldn't try so hard to keep you from voting if your vote didn't count. They wouldn't be going to the Supreme Court and getting them to nullify the Voting Rights Act and passing draconian voter suppression laws and trying to do everything in their power to make it more difficult for you to vote if your vote didn't count. Now, historically, Black Americans have been in recent history a reliable voting bloc for the Democratic Party, while often being ignored or marginalized by Republicans. However, this loyalty has not translated into tangible benefits for our community, which has led to an awareness that Black voters need to demand something specific in exchange for their vote. This is the time where a quid pro quo is necessary. And we've got to really look at the concerns of our community, the stakes that are involved, and why our traditional approach of unconditional loyalty to a party or a candidate or whoever without specific demands, as suggested by people like Steve Harvey and Ricky Smiley, is a misguided and detrimental thing to the advancement of our Black interests. We've got a myriad of challenges that are deeply rooted in systemic racism, what the caller just talked about, economic inequality, social injustice. We've got pressing concerns. Matter of fact, if you're in the social media space, put your most pressing concern in the chat section for this upcoming election. What's on your mind? What's on your mind? What is your most pressing concern for this election? Different people have different concerns, and Black people are not a monolith. We've got concerns like everybody else. What are they? And they're not all criminal justice reform, because we ain't all criminals. Everybody in our family ain't criminals. That is a concern because of the disparate way that we are treated in that system, but people act like that's like our only concern. I'd start with what, and as I stated, they're all steeped in systemic racism. I'd start with what the caller talked about, economic inequality. People will point to progress in certain areas, but despite that, you've got a racial wealth gap that is widening. It's not shrinking. Black families, on average, have significantly less wealth than their white counterparts. That leads to disparities in home ownership, access to quality education, and economic mobility. We've got a serious economic inequality problem in America. Good morning, caller.
Thank you. How you doing, Bishop?
I'm good. You?
Pretty good.
Yes, sir.
I find out that people, black people that have got hold of money and start getting a good taste of all that money. The Steve Harveys, the Ricky Smileys that made all that money. Now they feel, now before they made that money, they were down with whatever black people needed. But now they said black people need to stop begging.
Yeah, don't ask for nothing because we already got what we need. So y'all stop begging for stuff.
Right. See, I already got what I need. So y'all need to stop begging. That's what they're saying. Instead of when they didn't have nothing, then they were sitting there talking about reparations.
And they don't and what they've forgotten is it's the black people that have tangible needs that are the ones supporting their behinds.
Exactly. And the thing is that they forgot they're black. Thank you.
All right, appreciate you. 413-736-2781. Yeah, a lot of times when our people get into a certain tax bracket, they forget their blackness. And they think that they have the same concerns as their non-melanated counterparts. Until they have a run-in and they get that inward wake-up call and they remind them that you're still one of us. So we got economic inequality. Of course, we do have criminal justice reform. The criminal justice system still disproportionately impacts black folk, from higher incarceration rates to police brutality. It's a system that basically perpetuates racial inequality, and it literally destroys black lives, black families, and black communities. And that's a long history. The whole war on drugs, the whole crime bill, all that stuff ravaged black families and black communities. We got serious health care disparities. And by the way, Trump is still talking about getting rid of the Affordable Care Act. You know it as Obamacare. And the crazy thing about it is the millions of white people who support Trump, who benefit from the Affordable Care Act, are supporting getting rid of it. Because they're not voting in their best interest. They're voting based upon the fact that his message of racial division resonates with them. His policies don't resonate with them. But the fact that he don't like black people does. So they're willing to sacrifice their own economic future, their ability to pass down generational wealth, and all of that, because the one thing that they agree with is we don't like niggers. It's crazy to me. So one of the linchpins of the Affordable Care Act was the fact that you could not be denied health insurance because of a pre-existing condition. So whether you got hypertension, whether you got diabetes, whether you've been diagnosed with cancer, whatever it is, you cannot be denied health insurance. You get rid of the Affordable Care Act, and that safety net goes away. And you literally have millions of people that have chronic, that have debilitating, that have mortal diseases in their body that will not be able to afford to take care of themselves because they will no longer be covered, all because they want to get rid of a law that was signed by a black man. Okay? And when it comes to black people in particular, we suffer from worse health outcomes compared to any other demographic group, largely due to unequal access to quality health care, to environmental injustices, and to systemic biases in medical treatment. It's just a fact. That's a major concern in any election. Educational inequality. Schools in predominantly Black neighborhoods receive less funding, which leads to lower quality education, which leads to fewer opportunities for students. And this educational gap has long-term effects on the economic and social mobility of Black people, Black families, and Black communities. We still got voter suppression going on. Remember, they gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013. It's been 11 years. I signed on to some stuff yesterday asking certain people in Congress to sponsor something to reactivate the Voting Rights Act. Nothing's been done about it since 2013. And there are continued efforts to suppress the Black vote that are a significant issue, whether it's voter ID laws, gerrymandering, closing polling locations, getting rid of early voting in Black neighborhoods. All of these tactics are used to diminish Black political power. And as I stated at the beginning, if your vote didn't count, they would not be jumping through these hoops, okay, to stop you from voting. And these concerns are not new, but they remain largely unaddressed despite the consistent support of Black voters to a particular political party. Okay, there's a lot at stake. There's too much at stake for anybody to be telling Black people, don't ask for nothing in exchange for your vote. Let me get Sonny G in here. Sonny G, you got the mic.
Good morning, Bishop. How you feeling today?
I'm good. You?
I'm feeling pretty good, pretty blessed. Yeah, I definitely wanted to come up here and chop it up with you. I ain't talk to you in a little minute. I've been going around. We've been working on a documentary down here in Florida, going to different churches, Black churches, having get their input and their take on reparations and things like that. And that's been coming along pretty good. I definitely would like to talk to you about it, on the back channel to get you in there. But I just want to say something real quick, just to the title. One thing you said is that this reparations conversation, and I put it in a purple pill. Sandy Darity, who put out the book From Here to Equality, the economist from Duke University.
Yes, sir.
In 2020, well, he put out this tweet maybe 2 weeks ago. He said the median Black net worth is already zero in Chicago. In the 2014 study, it was estimated to be close to zero. It's only $8 in Boston. It's vital that an administration, either party administration, address the racial wealth gap, but neither party candidate endorses reparations. Now, just listening to you and having a conversation and, having a space this morning, you will be very hard pressed to find me 3 policies that are more important than closing this racial wealth gap. And neither party candidates are addressing reparations. And my thing is that we do see, whether that be Plies or, anybody else who's pretty much coming out, very staunch for the Democrats and pretty much, finger wagging and shaming Black Americans. I just find that, very crazy that, once this election and once this whole thing is over, man, they're going to go back to being silent and they're not going to be saying anything. Whoever wins, they're going to be, they're going to be in office, and they're not going to have any intake or input, and they're not going to be using their voices and their platforms to speak about, the racial wealth gap and making sure that reparations does happen. And the only thing that will close the wealth gap is reparations.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's something that's a policy that we can't of momentum going on in the country right now for reparations, for the things that's happening in California and all across the country. But we must be stopped down for this whole reparations fight. And I just leave that right there for you, Bishop.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. I couldn't have said it any better myself. It is in the top two categories of what we need to be talking about. Well, the economic disparity, definitely, and reparations is a huge part of that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. All right, well, you can't call and play music. I got music in the studio. 413-736-2781. If you want to chime in on the conversation, please turn your radio down, turn your music down. Listen up for the cue so we can get you on the air. All right, 413-736-2781. Yeah, the stakes are high. And we've got to demand specifics, and we've got to hold people who we vote for accountable. Just the conversation, without telling you one way or another who to vote for, the conversation that we shouldn't ask for nothing is crazy to me. It's crazy. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good.
I think I called the wrong number, honestly.
Okay. Goodbye. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller.
Yeah. Bishop Swan.
Yes.
This is Lamar Mickens. I'm calling from Kansas City, Missouri. I had just sent you something on X, a post I made when we were talking about reparations. We as Black people have to understand the scale of what we're asking for when we talk about reparations. First, people say, we need reparations to, for our ancestors. We need, for the African descendants of slaves, ADOS. That is a valid point, but it goes a little deeper than that. We need reparations not only just for, our as African descendants of slaves, but the ongoing and the oppression that had constantly been around since, post-slavery and then post-Jim Crow era. And now we're talking here in the 2020s, that racial disparity, the economic inequality, everything that is working against it.
Oh, absolutely. Your point is well taken. We start at the fact that we had 239 years of enslavement, and then 155 years of segregation, Jim Crow, brutalization, dehumanization. All of that over the last 400 years is what we're included in the reparations package in terms of what America owes to Black people.
Now, in your opinion, Bishop, give me a dollar number. We're just going to use one individual.
Yeah, I'm not the economic expert. I default to people like what the caller talked about, Dr. Sandy Darity, and those folks who have extensively studied this and have come up with figures. But what I do know, I know the historical figures that they have given to other people. I know they gave the descendants of those who were interred for 3 years during World War II of Japanese descent $20,000 each, and that was for 3 years. So if you gave them that for being interred for 3 years, what should we get for 400 years of everything that you've done to Black people?
That's right. Now, I've developed and I hope you get time to go to my page as well. And if you're on Facebook, I need you to stop off, and I want your listeners to stop off at my group page called Main Street Bailout Program, MSBP. I'm going to shoot you a link to that on your Twitter here, on your X page as well.
All right.
Back in about 2000, don't quote me on this now, 2010, I believe it was, 2008. Prior to that, I asked myself that question. I also run a nonprofit called Quality Day Campus Inc. And one of the things I got tired of, I got tired of people saying reparation. And I said, okay, what is it worth? And the number I came up with is basically, it's still conservative. By any means, this number is still conservative. For the 40 million people, I came up with a number of at least $4 million tax-free for every black man, woman, and child in America. Now that comes up to $160 trillion.
Now let's do some math on that, because let's take that as a number. Here's the thing, because what they always will say is America can't afford to do that. But you saw what happened when we went into the pandemic, and we're not talking about the little measly $1,200 checks and stuff that people are talking about. They got, because the bulk of that money was in PPP loans and other things that they gave to multinational corporations, bailing them out, giving them millions of dollars. And they came up with $100 and something trillion, pulled it out from under a mattress somewhere. So when white folks are involved in the struggle, they can find $100 trillion in a heartbeat. But when it comes to finding that kind of money to give black people reparations, we can't afford it.
I'm going to tell you why. You also need to go to medium.com. My name is Lamar Mickens, and I'm telling that for the callers as well. Lamar, the last name is Mickens. I did an article there as well. What America doesn't understand is this. The United States of America, what our black people don't understand is this. We are a sovereign nation, but also we are a nation of unimaginable, undefinable wealth and power resources. Now, to give you an example, our GDP, gross domestic product, is $25 trillion a year. Okay, now, if you take that for the next 10 years, we just said decade, that's $250 trillion. What can you buy with that kind of money? Anything you want. So for Black America, our baseline, this isn't the overall number, just our baseline number is at least $160 trillion. Now, this getting back to this program I created, it's called Main Street Bailout Program, MSBP. I took the number back in, I think it was 2018 or 2010. Like I said, again, I got to go back to my notes here. The federal budget at the time was $3.654 trillion. Now, I'm going to show you the power of of our nation's economic parity. If we were to take that $3.654 trillion and multiply that for 300 years, 300, okay, well, we would come out basically with $1 quadrillion, well over $1 quadrillion. So what I'm saying is this, and this might make a little sense to your callers and to yourself as well. Imagine you make $100,000 and you want to go get a bank loan, for a house. And we're going to call this house $300,000, okay? So not adding the interest on there, we're going to say that this house can be paid for in 30 years' time, which that would be a payment of $10,000, a year. The United States government is the same way. When it comes to our currency system, once upon a time we were backed by silver. The dollar itself had to be backed by something that they call tangible. The dollar was backed by silver. Then after World War II, it was backed by gold. Then after that, they woke up and said, you know what? We're just going to back it on the ultimate currency, human currency. And that's how we came up with fiat currency. In other words, it's an IO. Your money is nothing more than the bank, though. That's why it says dollar is a note, and it's legal tender to be tendered or to be given to the government, in exchange for whatever value that you deem it as, which is a dollar in this case. Okay, so that means the government will make good on its promise. So what the government did was they simply said, let's create fiat currency, which is a form of credit, basically all it is, an IOU. And now we don't have to back that dollar by anything.
Right, for sure. I got to move on to a couple more callers. I'm appreciating the lesson, though. Give me your final thought.
Final thought is this. We need the black vote is powerful. We need to go ahead and get that. And yes, we do need to ask for something. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. But what we need to do right now as our black people, tie ourselves right now to the Free Palestine movement, and we can negotiate I've got some things on that too. So when you get time, look at my X page. You're gonna see what I put on there as far as free in America and free in Palestine.
All right.
For taking the time out, Bishop, and I hope to hear from you soon.
All right, appreciate you. 413-736-2781. 413-736-2781. Let me get Messy Boots in here. Messy Boots, you got the microphone. All right. Either Messy Boots or I'm going to the phone line. All right, let me go to the phone line and come back to Messy Boots. Up, phone line dropped. Okay, 41. There we go, Messy Boots. Good morning. Good morning. All right, I think you got some difficulty with your line, so come back, put the request back in, and we'll get you back up. 413-736-2781 is the number here. Talking about our votes. Should we be getting something tangible for them? Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you today?
I'm good. You?
Good. I'm very good. The caller was very interesting, informative about, yes, we should ask for reparations because, we built the country. We gave to the country. We created the white wealth. And he's absolutely right that we cannot afford not to ask. Matter of fact, we should demand what we want. We should demand because we have that right. That's our civil right to demand what we want and what we need. And we cannot have rich men speaking for the masses of us. The rich man, Steve Harvey, he's wealthy, so he's comfortable. But the masses of our people, right, like they're suffering. They're not comfortable. And they're right on the edge of, complete poverty. So the reparations, that should be number one on our table for this voting election. That should be number one. And our ancestors always marched and protested and demand against, the white supremacy. They always marched, getting a beat down over the head, getting thrown in jail. So we don't come from weakness. We come from power. And the powerful ancestors always demanded what they want. And that is how we got to where we are today. We're still demanding, but we still have to keep the fight going until victory, until we get the victory.
All right.
To the end. All right. Thank you.
Appreciate you. 413-736-2781. We'll take your calls up until show close. Listen, the stakes in demanding something are extraordinarily the upcoming elections at every level of government, not just the presidential, the down ballot elections as well, represent an opportunity for Black voters to leverage collective power. We have the right to withhold support from folks until specific, measurable commitments are made. We've got the ability to push both major parties to prioritize the issues that matter most to our community. And the reality is this: both parties have failed Black Americans, both Republicans and Democrats. I preached a message a couple of weeks ago, how would Jesus vote? And I told the people that God is neither a Democrat nor a Republican. So people trying to tie God to a political party are misguided. There are things on both platforms that are antithetical to Christianity. God is not tied to a political party. Republicans have dismissed the concerns of the Black community outright. They've relied on racially coded rhetoric and policies that appeal to white voters. The whole Southern strategy played on racial fears. That's a prime example of how the Republican Party has historically sought to undermine Black political power. Then on the other hand, the Democratic Party has benefited from the loyalty of Black voters, but has frequently failed to deliver on its promises. They offer rhetoric that's more inclusive, but tangible gains have never been consistent. The lack of progress in areas like economic inequality, criminal justice reform, health care, has led to the questions of whether the Democratic Party truly values its black constituency or simply relies on their votes without offering substantial change. And that's why unconditional loyalty is misguided. That's why we have to drown out voices like Steve Harvey and anybody else who tells us to be unconditionally loyal to a party without asking for anything. This perspective is flawed and it's dangerous. It assumes that the interest of black people is some kind of way going to be addressed through some generalized policy, despite a long history to the contrary. It allows politicians to continue taking black voters for granted, assuming that our support is guaranteed without any real accountability. And you see, my brothers and sisters, in a political system where other groups routinely lobby for specific policies that directly benefit them, it's short-sighted to suggest that black voters should not do the same thing. We ought to be doing the same thing. We ought to demand criminal justice reform. We ought to demand legislation. The George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, one of the most significant pieces of legislation proposed to address police brutality and systemic racism in law enforcement. It needs to be passed. We ought to demand that it be passed and fully implemented. Okay? We should insist on the expansion of community policing. We ought to talk about economic justice and wealth building. We need a federal jobs guarantee or similar programs that prioritize employment in economically disadvantaged communities. We've got to have that. There should be targeted investment in black-owned businesses, increased access to capital through community banks, etc. Legislation around health care, educational equity, voter rights and protection. All of that needs to happen. We need to be demanding that from whoever is in office, Democrat or Republican. And to tell us that we need to just sit down and shut up and vote and not be asking for nothing is ignorant at best. And Steve and them need to sit down with that foolishness. All right, listen, let's pick this back up on Monday. We'll be back on the spoken word, 9:00 a.m. on Monday morning. Coming up next at 10 o'clock is mid-morning jazz, great black music and more by the one and only Don Felton. He's going to make it smooth. He's going to make it personal for you. So don't you touch that dial. Keep it locked right there. Remember, again, NAACP Freedom Fund, October 17th. All the other things that we talked about, check out our Facebook page, social media. We'll put it all up on there, let you know exactly what's popping, what's going off. Listen, have yourselves a terrific weekend, okay? If you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. The Brick Church right there at 6 Corners. There'll be prayer, praise, and preaching. We're building better tomorrows by changing lives today. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I. Peace and blessings.
This one is for all the brothers that passed, but more particularly one because it